All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our live webinar, Maximizing Engagement for Your Content in 2017. My name is Eli Miniker. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager for PulsePoint. I'm joined today by Neha Palacherla, our Campaign Operations Lead, who will be presenting for you today. I'll start with a quick look at our agenda. We'll start by discussing the challenges we all face in making content marketing campaigns more efficient, more effective, and more trackable. We'll talk about the importance of optimizing your campaigns to the right KPIs and what metrics are the key determinants of a successful campaign. And then we'll go through a demo of PulsePoint's content marketing distribution platform, and we'll end with a brief Q&A. Just a quick note that you can ask questions at any time during the webinar by using the chat box. We'll try to address as many questions as we can at the end, and those that we don't get to today, we'll follow up with you individually via email. So without further ado, I'll hand things over to Neha.
Thanks, Eli. So today I'm going to start off with some of the challenges that marketers face. We all know that consumers are being bombarded with ads, which means that marketers need to find other forms of advertising that are more effective than traditional digital advertising. So this means that, and this is where content marketing comes in to save the day. But content marketing has its own challenges, and it requires a lot of resources in order to manage these campaigns. So some of the ways that content marketing, what content marketing requires are being able to achieve scale across multiple channels to reach your target audience. You have to be able to understand and evaluate data beyond click-through rate and CPM and focus more on metrics like page views and time on page. You have to be able to analyze this data in order to optimize your campaigns and make them successful. And you also have to have a lot of creatives, a lot of image and headline variants for your content so that you can improve your optimization efforts and understand which creatives are working best for you. But this means that your content marketing campaigns can also have hundreds of creative assets that you need to keep track of. So you need to be able to manage those assets and analyze them efficiently. So one strategy to address these challenges where we've seen success centers around the optimization of each campaign to a specific goal or KPI. At the start of a campaign, you need to identify a goal. So what metric will make your campaign successful? By defining your KPI at the outset, you'll be able to use campaign performance to prove clear ROI. This has traditionally been a challenge for content marketers. Additionally, optimization allows you to see what content is resonating with your audience and which channels are driving that audience to the content. So this is insight that can be used for future campaigns as well, and you really want to know what kind of content to continue producing and which channels to focus on future campaigns. The KPIs for content marketing campaigns are different from your traditional digital advertising metrics. So before you can actually decide on what campaigns or what KPIs you want on your campaigns, you need to understand the importance of these specific metrics to content marketing. So if you look to the left side under ad metrics, these are probably KPIs or metrics that you've seen before. And while these are good standard metrics to look at, they don't actually paint the full picture for a content marketing campaign. On the other hand, on the right side, page level metrics really allow you to understand how your audience interacts with your content. So for example, if you look at the first two metrics, scroll depth and scroll velocity, these tell us how far down someone is reading on the page and how quickly they're scrolling through that page. And so this allows you to see if someone is actually engaging with that page. So for example, if you had a scroll depth of only 20%, that means there's something, 20% down the page that's stopping that user from scrolling all the way down. If you're seeing that people are scrolling very quickly through your pages, that means that they're not really, taking the time to read them. And that sort of goes into average time spent and total engaged time as well. So you want to make sure that people are actually spending time with the content, and looking at average time spent really gives you an idea of how long those users are spending with your content, and seeing if they're truly interested in it. If you think about someone clicking an ad, That's not really a great indication of if they're actually interested in what you have to say, but if they're spending time with the piece, that indicates a level of interaction past the click. So now that we've gone over some of the basic strategies around content marketing campaigns, I'm going to jump into a demo of the platform. This really illustrates how you can put into practice some of the ideas that we've discussed. So let me go ahead and add a new campaign. So the very first step is to put in your campaign name. So I'm going to just call this test campaign. I'm going to call this advertiser test advertiser. So this just shows up as a sponsor name so that people know that this ad is sponsored by the brand. The next step is to put in your product category, and this is actually really important. This is how our optimization technology is able to look at your campaign and compare it to past campaigns in similar product categories and look at that historical data to start that optimization process from the very beginning. So I'm just going to select B2B, budget. This is where you put in the total campaign budget. You can put it in your CPC, put in your start date, end date. And this is where you can put in a logo. So this shows up only on some certain creatives, but it's similar to the sponsor name or the advertiser name. So the next step is where you get to choose your channels. So you can select all your social, all content discovery, and all native, or you can choose to say, oh, I don't want to do some of these, or let's say you're not interested in social, so you can just unselect those. Then you can hit save and proceed. Go to the next step. This is where you define your target audience. So say I wanted to target female ages 25 to 54. You could select that target here, and you can see there's some other demographic targeting that you can also select. You definitely want to put in your location, otherwise it will target all countries everywhere. So for example, I'll just put United States. There are a few other targeting capabilities, so occupation, industry, you can also do contextual targeting, as well as targeting by device. But I'm just going to leave this as is and go to the next step. So this engagement weights is actually very, very important to your campaign. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier. This is where you define your KPIs. And this is how you tell our technology or optimization technology what KPIs to optimize towards. So say you were really interested in getting as many page views as you could, you would slide that all the way to the right. Let's say you don't have videos, so it's not relevant. You could slide that all the way over, and then you just want to slide these over in the order of importance on how much you want to weight them. Save. All right, last step in the setup is campaign tracking. So this is just where you would add things like click trackers, any custom parameters to your URLs, so that's so you can track them in your own analytics. If you need to track any impression or put any impression pixels, you can add up to 3 here. So I'm just gonna put in some placeholders here so we can save the campaign. And then I'm going to add the content now. So these are the ads that people will see. So take a URL. And add that here. if you open this up, you can see there's no thumbnail image here. If your site is set up in a way where it pulls in the headline and image, you'll see that populated here. If there's no image, you can go ahead and add your own. So I have an image saved here. And one thing to note, it's really important to have a good image. So, usually people's faces, people who look happy, bright colors, those are the signs of a good image. So the next step is to add the actual headlines and images that are going to run. So I'm just going to add promotions and add promotions to multiple channels. So here you can see that you could either select all channels, or say you only wanted to add it to a few of these channels, and I could just deselect a couple of these. Check your headline, your blurb, and then you just hit create. Cool. And then you can open these up and see what the actual creative looks like. So you can see the image, the logo, the headline, and the blurb. You can also copy and paste the URL to check that it has all of the tracking that you want on it. You can edit the headline here as well. So let's say you wanted to, add more. You could add more to that. You can just hit this little check mark, and it'll save that headline. And then once you're ready and you've reviewed all your creatives, you can just hit send changes, and that sets your creatives live. So once you finish adding your creatives and setting your campaign live, that's when the exciting stuff happens. That's when your campaign's actually running and you start to see the data coming in. So I'm going to actually go into a campaign with data in it, because this one is a new one, so it doesn't have anything. All right, so this, I'm going to just change the dates here to 1 month, so you can see you can change the dates. Gives you a good idea of, if you want to just look at a month over month, or just a few weeks of your campaign, you can see that as well. You can export the reporting here, so that gives you a really granular breakdown of all the reporting by creative and by channel. This shows you your engagements by day, so you can keep track of how your campaign is pacing. You can also look at your overall visits, clicks, shares, likes, hours in view, and video plays. So this goes back to some of the metrics we were talking about earlier. So you can see this includes some ad metrics on the right side here. So things like impressions, click-through rate, CPC, whereas here on the left are more metrics that have to do with engagement with the actual content. So visits to the page, likes, shares, hours in view, and video plays show more engagement with the content than impressions really do. Scrolling down a little more, you can see here visitor focus also has more of an emphasis on those on-page metrics. So you can see things like social actions, average viewing time, scroll depth, and scroll velocity. And then you can also look at your social engagements. So whether people are liking your content or sharing it, tweeting it. This also shows great engagement with your content, especially if people are sharing it. We think that's a really great indicator of, if someone likes the content so much that they're willing to share it on their network with their friends. You can also look at breakdown of location. So this shows the top 5 cities that people are coming from. This is really useful if you target the United States, but maybe you're seeing you're seeing most of your traffic coming from 3 or 4 cities, and you'll want to target those cities on your next campaign. And then you can see some demographic information for age and gender. You can see what devices people are using. We tend to see a lot of heavy mobile, but you can see people are also coming from desktop and tablet. If you look at total visitors, you can see new users and returning users. We see a lot of returning users on these campaigns, so people, click on an ad, they read the content, and they might see another ad and they say, hey, I really like this content, I'm going to read another piece by this advertiser. So that's really great. So that's PulsePoint's content marketing distribution platform. I'm going to go back to the presentation. And I just want to talk a little bit about what we're trying to do with this platform. We're really trying to find solutions for some of those challenges that we talked about that marketers face. So this platform, we built it so that it would embody the importance of optimizing to a campaign's KPI, and also to emphasize in the reporting, especially, which KPIs are truly important to a content marketing campaign. So you can see that there's a lot of data in that dashboard, but we're really trying to showcase what's important for content marketers. So to review, here are some ways that our platform solves the challenges that content marketers face. So we help you achieve scale, so you can access audience across social media, native, and content discovery channels. We give you the key metrics that you need to follow the user journey and validate your strategy. We help you analyze your campaign, so we help you do optimization and target to your KPIs to prove your ROI. And we also help you manage your creatives. So, having hundreds of creatives with multiple headlines and image variations across multiple channels can be really overwhelming. So we really help you with that.
All right. So that wraps up our presentation and demo. I'd like to use these last few minutes to answer any questions you might have. I've got a couple quick ones here. Andrew asks, what if conversions are my #1 KPI?
So that's a really good question. Technically, content marketing is a very upper funnel solution. So the idea is to drive users to your site, get them hooked on and interested in what you have to say, and then using that like sort of first hook to keep communicating with them. That being said, we do conversion tracking. So if a user comes to the page and performs an action like an email sign up or some sort of like downloading a white paper, we can track that action for you with a 30-day look back.
Great. Alyssa asks, how is this better than working directly with the individual distribution partners?
Yeah, so if you're using more than 2 channels, this platform offers you a way to consolidate and simplify your efforts. So instead of uploading content and creatives into 3 or 4 different platforms, you can just do it all at once, kind of how I showed you. You can just select all channels and have the same headline and image running across all of the different channels that you want to use. You have way more reach, so you can shift spend towards the channels and the creatives that are actually working for your campaign's goals. So instead of trying to consolidate your reporting, try to analyze it, you can do it all within one platform. And most importantly, the platform makes optimization suggestions based on performance. So it's a completely unbiased way to effectively spend on your content marketing distribution.
And Nick wants to know, how many articles do I need to run a successful campaign?
Yeah, so it really varies. I would say, start with 5 pieces of content. But, if you don't have a ton of content, that's totally fine as well. You should create multiple headlines and images. And, if you don't have a lot of content, we can also send over some information about content creation companies that we work with.
Perfect. All right, that's all the time we have for questions today. If we didn't get to your question, we'll be sure you have, we should be sure to follow up with you by email. We'll be sending out a recorded version of the webinar that you can share. If you have any additional questions, just email webinar@pulsepoint.com and we'll be sure to get right back to you. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and thanks to Neha for taking us through the platform. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.